My name is Michelle Greenfield, and I am the CEO and co-owner of Third Sun Solar in Athens, Ohio. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, which is super exciting, and I thought it would be kind of fun to take a look back at the last 20 years and where we came from and how we got here. So the story really starts before the year 2000. It starts in 1997 when my husband Jeff and I decided to build a home in rural Athens County on a piece of land that we bought. The land did not have power to it. There was no electricity, so we decided to build the house off the grid. Little did we know that our living off the grid adventure that started when our family was young and with our own two hands would become a lifelong business. So our official start was in 2000. Jeff had been working in the nonprofit housing development world, and he was doing some installations of clean energy projects for other people. And middle of 2000, he decided to leave that job in the affordable housing world and start running his own business. By the end of 2000, he had 5 projects under his belt, both solar and wind. And the name of the business at that time was Third Sun Renewable Energy Services. 2001 is when the Greenfields met Glenn Kaiser. He was from the Foundation for Environmental Education. He had a dream to install 1 kW solar projects on schools all across Ohio. Over the next couple of years, we installed at least 35 school projects with Glenn. With all this increase in work, Jeff was really getting busy on his own, and without a background in business or accounting for himself, he was having a little bit of trouble keeping up. So in September of 2001, I left my job, which was in small business development and lending. When I left, it left our family with no paycheck. We had 2 little babies. We had bills. We had expenses. So it was a leap of faith to start this business. We were doing a wide variety of projects at that time. We weren't just doing solar and wind. We were also doing solar thermal and some radiant floor heating projects. By the end of 2001, our small startup had done 11 projects. In 2002, we hired our first employee, Tim Dunning. He loved electronics and sustainability. He was a true believer, and he was a great first employee for our company. That year, we also got our first, quote, big project with Glacier Ridge Metro Parks. This was a public bid that first time we had ever done one of those, and we won, and it was a 10 kilowatt wind generator. The next year, 2003, was a pivotal year for us. Jeff and I hosted a group of Ohio University business students to come over to our house and learn about our business as a case study. When they visited us at our house, up in our attic office, they saw how crowded and cramped the 2 of us were. There was barely any room for them to sit down. They suggested that we might be more efficient and that we might be able to grow our business a little bit more if we moved out into a real office. At that time, Ohio University was building the Innovation Center. We were already there at the Innovation Center installing solar on the roof, and so it was just a natural fit for us to expand our vision. So in 2003, we moved into the Innovation Center. At that time, we also hired another employee, our second employee, Ben APPLEBY. He had an electrical background, and he primarily worked on installations. His first job was a residential project over in Albany, Ohio, just right around the corner from us. 2004, we were going strong, and we hired another employee. So this is our third employee, Kathy Gilty, and it's great to know that Kathy Gilty is still with us today. She's our longest standing employee. She came on as a part-time administrative and accounting assistant, and one of the qualifications of hiring Kathy actually was that she had lived off-grid in a cabin in eastern Ohio. 2004 was also an exciting year because we participated in a group installation at the governor's residence. The state of Ohio governor lives up in BEXLEY, Ohio, in Columbus, and Green Energy Ohio, which is our statewide advocacy group for solar and clean energy, pulled together a team of Ohio installers, and we used all Ohio manufactured components for that installation. That system is still functioning today on the carriage house at the governor's residence. In 2004, we had gotten up to 19 projects. 2005, we got up to 25 projects, and we ended up doing our largest single dollar project at that time at TWENHOFEL Middle School in northern Kentucky. That project was 25 kW, and that was our single largest project. And just as an aside, sometimes today we install homeowners with 20 kW systems. So things have really changed. We were inching towards a whole $1 million in sales for annual sales, but we hadn't gotten there quite yet in 2005. 2006, activity remained about the same as the previous year with 21 projects, mostly residential, but we also did some key projects, one of which was the Athens Middle School. We partnered with the Sierra Club to do an installation there. We still had not broken $1 million though yet for sales that year. We were still getting closer. In 2007, we had another biggest project ever at J.S. Wilson School, another 24 kW, $250,000 project. We also had an extensive wind project for the Pennsylvania Department of Natural Resources. So we were still doing wind generators at this time in 2007. We installed 4 generators at 4 different state parks. And we had a park theme going that year because we then started installing for the Cincinnati parks. We did a solar array at their headquarters in Eden Park, and that was the first of over a dozen projects over the next several years where we put solar on many of the parks in Cincinnati. So 2007 closed out with 39 projects, getting that number up there, and we cracked the $1 million sales mark. In fact, we didn't just crack it, we beat it. We had over $2 million in sales that year. 2008 then brought our first single $1 million project. We won the bid for the newly built LEED certified Akron Metro Transit Center. So solar sales were really starting to increase in the commercial and the public sector. We decided to eliminate wind and thermal systems at this point and focus solely on solar electric. That segment of our business was growing much more rapidly, and we felt that solar electric made a lot more sense in Ohio than small wind. We hit $3.7 million in sales that year with 28 projects. By now, we had also begun to build a team of awesome employees and started to structure a maturing business. Each year, we seem to keep getting our next biggest project and our next biggest project. And we had a line of champagne bottles on one of our shelves at one point because every time we'd get our largest project, we'd pop a champagne bottle. But then it became sort of every year we'd have that happen. We did a $500,000 project for American Electric Power that year on their depot in Newark, Ohio. We also put solar on the Wayne National Forest headquarters. I think that might have been our first federal project. And we did a cool project in Fayette County in southeast Ohio where we installed solar on 10 or so low-income houses. Our total projects that year were 40. 2010, if you'll remember, we were coming out of the Great Recession. President Obama had initiated the stimulus program. Obama was a fan of renewable energy. The stimulus program is looking for shovel-ready projects, and we had a lot of roof-ready projects. We worked with about 9 customers to design those projects during 2009, and we ended up receiving 8 of those awards. We were freaking out a little bit about that. 8 huge projects. We were thinking maybe we would get 1 or 2. We did work it out though. We hired some great team members and we did some new kind of subcontracting that we had never done before. We also completed a project that year that was pretty cool down in Kentucky for the National Guard. They were establishing a net zero training center, and so we installed all the solar power for that training center. 2010 came in at 35 projects, and our sales that year quadrupled. Quadrupled, yes, we were freaking out a little bit. To this day, it was our highest sales year ever. Going into 2011, we were still finishing up some of those stimulus projects. We added more Cincinnati Parks projects and finished the year with 42 altogether. Sales had dropped back down to a more normal level after the stimulus, but they were still climbing. The structure of projects and project finance had been changing over the years, and by 2012, we decided to spearhead our own self-financed PPA project. We worked with Kent State University to put solar on their field house, and we started a separate company which owned that solar. Third Sun was the installer for that project. We also worked with Ohio University to add solar to their composting facility, and we began what was still our single largest dollar project to date at Assurant headquarters in Springfield, Ohio. This was also a big year for Third Sun because we hatched from the incubator. We decided it was time for us to move out of the Innovation Center and into our own offices. So we moved to our headquarters where I'm sitting right now, and where we still live, and we've completed 24 projects that year. 2012 was also a really important year. We became a B Corporation, a certified B Corp that year. B Corp is a third-party certification that shows companies' commitment to triple bottom line, people, planet, as well as profit. It's a seal or a mark of our commitment to using our business as a force for good, which Jeff and I had always been committed to from the very beginning of the business. In 2013, we added 51 projects, including solar at our own new headquarters, also at the Athens Public Library and at our local Habitat for Humanity. We finished our large project in Springfield at Assurant and expanded the solar array at our favorite local cafe, the Village Bakery. With the reduction in state subsidies, the bigger commercial projects had slowed down a little bit. Revenues went down that year, even though the number of projects went up, which reflected our shift to more residential projects. The 55 projects that we did in 2014 were largely residential, again, showing that solar power was really starting to catch on at the consumer level. There was a continued drop in prices. Prices were now coming down to below $5 a watt. Third Sun revenue dropped overall because of the drop of the prices of the projects, and we were doing a lot more smaller projects for residential. From 2015 to 2016, we invested heavily in the residential market, and our completed projects jumped from 57 to 159. The growth was driven, again, by installed costs coming down, consumers catching on. We're now looking at installed costs for solar at less than $4 a watt. A few key commercial clients did get projects built that year by us: Jackie O's Microbrewery in Athens, Ohio, the Cleveland Art Institute, and Levin Furniture and Sunnyside Auto, both businesses in the Cleveland area. 2017 is what we call, quote, the year of the solarized projects, unquote. We completed a massive number of projects that year, 193. So we went from 57 to 159 to 193 in 2017. So in 2018, we backed it back down. We installed 82 projects, mostly residential. One of our key large commercial projects that year, though, was Denison University. And actually, there's a picture of that array right here behind me. Still our largest KW project installed to date. So learning from the past few years of the increasingly hot residential market, we grew 2019 in project numbers to 103 projects, mostly residential. We did still sprinkle a few commercial in there. We had some big ones. One was a PPA project that we did at Federal Hocking Schools in eastern Athens County, BARBASOL Corporation in Cleveland, and one of our favorite local nonprofits, Rural Action. Going into 2020, this year, our 20th year of operations, Third Sun Solar has a tally of 1,026 completed projects worth over $70.5 million over the lifetime so far of our business. We now employ 32 awesome people, mostly in Athens County, but with some spread in other parts of the state. Our mission at Third Sun Solar is to accelerate the shift to clean energy. And that mission is working as we educate consumers, deploy clean energy products, and make solar happen across Ohio and in surrounding states. 2020 is still looking good for our 20th anniversary year, even amid the global pandemic. We've got lots of consumers, lots of residential customers, and even our institutional projects that are under development are still moving forward. So we're in for an exciting year this year and beyond. Third Sun Solar has not just ridden the solar coaster for the last 20 years. We have been part of the architects of the solar coaster. We've been around for the high price solar, the low price solar, the panel gluts and the panel shortages, the tons of employees at the ready and hard to find employees. We've been through it all. We have become experts in solar, and we are excited to continue to accelerate the shift to clean energy for the next 20 years.